it's been Connor, Connor, Connor. Maybe give him a little rest here when the score is like way up. But, they used Samuels, and then they brought in Ridley for a few, and then they went back to Samuels again. I mean, like, why? It just shows that Tomlin's, insecurity about that position today really, really showed. And I think that the Raiders pretty much ate up on that. And one thing that I always often ask is we have Roosevelt Nix, big, powerful fullback, and we don't use him for those short yard bursts. And a game like this would be actually a perfect time for that, because when you need that 1 yard, and you don't have James Conner, you don't have Le'Veon Bell, you hand it to the big guy and just let him get that 1 yard. Just let him bulldoze through for that 1 yard instead of doing the pass out to the side on 4th and 1.
I only saw Knicks used once, and that was the drive where the Steelers scored a touchdown, where they just basically ran it into the end zone with ease. Like, why didn't you just do that more? Like, I don't care if it's obvious that you're gonna run. You have no running game. Oh man, I mean, it just seems like the way the NFL is this year, it's not just enough to score. And you have to score and take some time off the clock, because that's the only way to keep the other team off the field, because defenses aren't going to stop them. So it's your only weapon is to just run the clock down and make it harder and not give the other team time to score. And when the Steelers scored so quickly, and there was a little less than 3 minutes left, I thought that's too much time. The other team is just going to drive down the field and score with ease, and that's exactly what happened.
And plus, you want to use that running game, too, to keep your defense off the field so that they get a little bit of a breather, maybe even sit there for a little bit of time and figure out maybe a new defensive scheme. I'm not really sold on Keith Butler and his whatever he teaches, but, I mean, give them some time off the field. I mean, because when you do that quick strike, they're right back out there again. And, whether some of these guys might be tired. Some of these guys might still be running the same play that they don't really, okay, what are we doing now? We'll just keep doing what we're doing, which isn't working. And, especially when you got such a great offense. I mean, you got Ben, you've got Juju, you got AB, you've got the tight ends, and so you don't have a running back. Quick slants, like little quick slants here and there. You air it out, it's over, and you scored great, but now your defense comes out, and your defense has been giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards. And especially if they're tired.
I agree. I think Butler needs to go. I think this is, maybe not all his fault, but something needs to change, because it's not working. This defense is just not working. There's, what are you going to do? Just spend all your draft picks on defense every year? It's not. It's just not working. So, what do you think? Do you think the Penguins? Do you think the Steelers make the playoffs? Do you think they win the division? How do you think this plays out?
I think that it's 50-50. I mean, if they make it, it's going to be a wild card, and it's going to be by pretty much luck and a lot of offense. And I think that if they do make that playoff spot, they're probably not going to go as far as, maybe one win, maybe. I mean, that's just being generous, but I see them probably making the postseason and then doing nothing else. It's going to be like a real short, because I can see them. I mean, this is the same team that sometimes, they lose to the teams that they're supposed to beat, and they beat the teams that they're supposed to lose to.
Yeah.
So you can't really count them out when it comes to, say, New England coming or, New Orleans coming. And they might surprise everybody, win those two, and somehow squeak into the playoffs. And then when they make the playoffs, that's when it's going to be like, I have some Jacksonville over again, but I'm not sure that the offense is going to be able to, match those 40 some odd points that if whoever they end up playing in that wild card game or in the playoffs, I don't see them being able to match that. I mean,
yep. Yep.
I was very hopeful, and I'm not saying that the season's over because, James Conner got hurt or because Ben got roughed up in this game. The season, I would think, is over because the ineptitude on defense and the fact that they didn't go out and fix that problem. And they just kind of go like, oh, it's okay, we'll just work with this. And then, they come out with some wow defense where they put a linebacker on one of the best receivers in the game. It's like, what are you doing? Oh, no wonder he's got 180 yards in this game. Or, this guy's got, 3 touchdowns. I mean, and I really think in the offseason they need to address that. I think they need to part ways with Butler because obviously he doesn't seem to be the guy. And I think they need to bring in, via free agency. I wouldn't go draft because these young guys, you can't tell. You draft a guy, he could be good. Oh, he's showing a lot of promise, but then, he has one good year and then the rest of he drops off, or he never materializes to that player that he was slated to be. I mean, look at Joe Hayden. We went out, we spent the money, we got Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden's been pretty good. So it's kind of, look in the free agent market. Look for some veteran guys that can come in and teach some of the younger guys, so that way that the defense is actually, progressing next season and we're not falling backwards, because it seems like it fell completely off and it still continues to fall off. And they're still not fixing it. They're just letting it, oh, well, okay, we'll put a little piece of duct tape on it here and see if that works. Oh, there's another leak over here. Okay, we'll just, move something over there, and okay, we'll hope that works. And that's not answer. That's not the answer to the problems that they have.
Yep. Well, thanks for coming on. I wish it was under better circumstances.
I do too. I thank you for having me. I hope to do this again sometime.
Sure. Craig at PitPenguin44. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right, thank you, Joey.
I don't even know where to begin, so I'm just gonna start. We're so bewildered right now. Steelers just
loud noises. That was basically what I was thinking.
Oh my goodness, the Steelers lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Raiders.
And a lot of people were thinking this was a trouble game, but because of their history, but nothing that happened in the past visits there really has any effect on what was going on today. So I'm like, all right, I thought they'd be fine. You come out, maybe be a little rough at first, but get it going.
So with me to have a calm, rational discussion about this game and the rest of the games in the NFL this week, it is Mark Haeglauer. How you doing?
Oh man,
oh my God!
I should have drunk myself into a coma after that.
I think that's a good idea. So I put it out to Twitter. What's the biggest reason for this loss? And most people are saying the coaching. Here, Kate's at Weekly Ball Blast says, coaching inexcusable not to have your starting quarterback in the game if he's cleared medically to play and hasn't been benched. Pure arrogance. And the Steelers won't be making another run at the Super Bowl until they realize that every game in the NFL is up for grabs. That's the big story, it seems.
That's true.
Ben got hurt at the end of the first half. Dobbs came in. But Ben came back on the sideline but wasn't playing. And it wasn't until the Raiders went ahead that they decided to put him in for that last drive. And he led him to a touchdown.
Very quickly, by the way.
Very quickly, yeah. Dobbs was having trouble moving the ball, and Ben had no problem at all because it's the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, there's other things to be discouraged about, just the fact that they were the worst run defense in the NFL, and I don't care what running back's back there, but you have our offensive line. I have no clue why they couldn't be a little more effective doing that. But that besides the point. I mean, Ben, I didn't even realize this till after, but he was like 25 of 29 or something, like just completing everything, and having him not in there. Yeah, that's 100% on Tomlin. And I mean, does this start his foot like halfway out the door now? Because I mean, that's a bad mistake to make, especially in the situation they're in right now with losing a couple in a row and the division staying close because the Ravens were. I mean, they lost today, which helps the Steelers, but my God, what a mess.
Steelers have lost 3 in a row. How about let's not play the AFC West anymore?
I
They've
can't
lost to
believe
the
they've
Broncos.
winless against the AFC West.
Yeah, winless against the AFC West in 3 games in a row. The Broncos, Chargers, and now Raiders. They've lost. So let's just not play that division anymore because we're clearly not equipped to handle those teams. Yeah, they're 7-5-1, still first in the AFC North, barely because the Ravens lost. But oh man, I mean, this is what I was hearing this week was basically a litmus test. It's like if you can't beat the Raiders, you don't deserve to do anything.
You don't deserve to, and they still may end up in the playoffs. They may win the division and get a home game. Maybe they win the first playoff game. But how much confidence do you have in anything after that? Like,
I don't know if they're going to win the division now.
I don't know. I still think they will, but what's going to happen.
They're home against
I'm not saying
New Orleans, and then they're home against Cincinnati. Maybe if they're lucky, they go 2-1 in that, and they finish 9-6.
Definitely not saying it's a given or anything, but I think the Ravens were kind of overachieving with their backup there, and he got hurt at the end of the game, so who knows what his status is going forward. I don't know. I don't think he came back. If they don't have him and it's RG3, they're definitely not winning any of the last games.
Yeah, that was odd.
But that's a whole other discussion.
What was that?
So this is blame. Oh man, lots of people to blame, and then
the kicker.
Yeah, Mr. Boswell. I was just about to say didn't do any favors. He may be immediately cut now. He's gonna make that.
I'd cut him. Yeah. He basically cost them the game.
He's cost them several games. I mean, if you go even to the Chargers game, if he makes that one extra point, they may not go for 2-point conversions when they did, and maybe the Steelers are still up a couple at the end of the game, and so it plays out.
There is if you're not following, his name's at Hayek and Hockey.
Yeah, I've seen that guy.
He's so funny. Don't tell him. He probably won't be listening to this. Don't tell him that because we can't inflate his ego. But he put out a tweet. I bet Boswell is trying to kick himself right now and missing.
No,
that basically sums up Boswell right now.
Oh my God!
He had that huge miss in the first half, and that ended up being such a huge play because if they were up, they were up 14-10. If they were up 17-10, at least they would have been.
They would have been.
At least they would have tied it. And at the end,
maybe going for a win at the end of the game instead.
Yeah, and they still almost pulled it out with 21 seconds left. That's all they had. That's all they had was 21 seconds, and I think only 15 seconds after the kickoff. They do this play where they're looking ladder, and it worked.
I know,
and he almost scored a touchdown.
Oh, that would have been great. I'm like, Juju's going, he's gone, but
yeah. And then so they get in field goal range with 5 seconds left, and he slips on the turf. And the turf was bad, and they asked Tomlin about it. It's like, well, hey, the turf was bad for them too. You can't.
I was gonna say it was still crappy no matter what. Now, granted, they play there every week, so they know how crappy it is. They can like extra prepare, but that doesn't really affect the game. Maybe individual plays like that one. But.
Another thing about the coaching, not just why you put Ben back in, but that final drive. So the Steelers are actually winning. What was it? 21-17 with like 2 minutes and some left. And the Raiders, because the defense is awful, Raiders are just driving down the field. But at the end, they let the Raiders run off so much time off the clock. What the heck is going on there?
I mean, that's another discussion, argument. I mean, I don't know. It didn't end up making a difference technically because they got in the field goal range, but at that, when they got right down inside the 10, I was like, just let them score here because it'll be better.
That's what I was going to say. Let them score quickly.
Because maybe at least we can go down and get a touchdown instead of having to rely on the field goal, which is the main reason because of Boswell. So, put it back in Ben's hands because they were doing fine when he was in there. But there's lots of things wrong with the coaching. Like they just were as usual, looked pretty flat, underprepared. Just okay to start the game. Should